sponsored by the Gama Group.
Hello, welcome to Rumbo Minero. My name is Cesar Campos, and on this occasion, together with our producer Miguel Zavala, I will be in charge of this time, together with our producer Miguel Zavala, I will be in charge of this program, replacing Jorge Leon Minavides, who has gone abroad. Miguel, how are you? Well, I would like to comment quickly that it has been a busy week in the mining environment given this sale, which some call suspicious. Glencore has sold its entire shareholding in Minera Volcan, not because, as the newspaper Gestion has pointed out, it is selling its shareholding in Volcan for a price below. In Volcan for a below market value. An over-the-counter transaction to an Argentinian consortium which would still need to be investigated. Glencore has not had, shall we say, a very transparent presence as we would have liked it to be. And we hope that some of its executives could agree to any interview we could have with them about this abandonment of the Peruvian participation in...
That is right, Cesar. And well, we also regret a new attack directly, not directly to Minera Poderosa, but to a power station. Well, that obviously complicates the operation itself, doesn't it?
What will happen then with the state of emergency in the region of La Libertad, which was precisely located and focused all its action in Patas, where the powerful mining company operates? This is very sad and regrettable news. On this occasion, we are going to have the opportunity to interview two very important personalities within the sector. One is Ulises Solis, who is the general manager of Macusani Yellowcake. We are going to talk about lithium in Peru and possibly about Peru and possibly also about mining formalization issues. We will do the same with Pedro Gamio, former Vice Minister of Energy, to talk about Petroperu. We are with those complete. Miguel, we immediately pass on to Gabriela Chicoma with the main news of the week.
These are the main mining news of the week.
The Swiss company Glencore informed about the subscription of a definitive agreement with Transition Metals AG, a subsidiary of the Argentinian Integra Capital, for the sale of its participation in the Peruvian mining company, the Think Volcan. The global company communicated this agreement through a significant event reported to the Superintendencia del Mercado de Valores. The Minister of Energy and Mines, Rómulo Mucho, stated that in the first quarter of last year, mining investment was close to 1 billion, which meant a growth of 1/2 compared to the same period last year. In his presentation at the Second Extraordinary Assembly of Regional Governors, he stated that what was recorded in the first 3 months of the year allows projecting that this year will exceed $5 billion. A total of 45 illegal mining camps were destroyed during an interdiction carried out by the forces of law and order in the Coigobamba and Sirac Maca hunting grounds located in the district of Guamachuco, province of Sánchez Carrión, La Libertad region, informed the Peruvian National Police.
Many thanks to Gabriela Chicoma, as always, for the mining news of the week. As we had announced, we are pleased to present in this segment, in our first interview, the General Manager of Macusani Yellowcake, our friend Ulises Solis, to talk about a very important topic that compromises the future of mining production in our country. Lithium in Peru and its demand towards the mining year. Ulises, as always, it is a pleasure to have you here on our program in Rumbo Minero. A pleasure is mine, Cesar. And as always, a greeting to Jorge and Miguel. Thank you very much. It so happens that a few days ago, we have learned that Phaser Markets, which is a market analyst, a metals market analyst, has predicted a significant growth in the demand for lithium in the year of the 30s. It says that in the United States, at least that demand is going to grow at 497%, which represents a production of 412,000 metric tons of lithium carbonate. As Macusani Yellowcake is engaged in that line, it is one of the first that is developing lithium mining projects, lithium exploitation projects. Obviously, we have to be at the forefront of this interesting news as well, and how we can place our production in the market. What do you think about?
No, that is encouraging news. Let us remember that in the year 2021, lithium was at $12,000 a ton of lithium carbonate, exactly in September 2021. After that, the price went up to $84,000 per ton of lithium carbonate. carbonate. Well, as waves are, it started to go down again and practically reached $13,000 a ton of lithium carbonate a couple of months ago. Today it is rising again. It is rising again. At this moment, it is at $15,400 per ton of lithium carbonate today, and the rise must continue. In other words, it has to go up. For us, when it was at $12,000, the business was profitable. When it went to $84,000, well, we all rubbed our hands together. But these are moments that we must take advantage of, and it is not compromised.
That expectation for the year 2030 almost fixed. That demand is going to increase. What is going to happen in the market that will obviously use the lithium resource?
Mobility. Gas, diesel, gasoline, and fuel cars, in general terms, will tend to disappear. All cars will be electric. That is what batteries are for. Let us understand that a battery is not only lithium. There are many people who say that we can also produce lithium batteries. It is not that we cannot do it, but it is complicated in the industry because we do not have the other elements. Lithium is an important component, but we need graphite, which we do not produce, cobalt, which we do not produce, then we would have to import it. That is another issue. It is an industrial issue. But if we want to be at the forefront of lithium production in the country, you can be absolutely sure that we are going to do it. At this moment, we are ready. On Wednesday, May 8, we have already corrected the observations to our semi-detailed EIA. This study, what is the purpose of this study? To change the resources, the 9.5 million tons of lithium carbonate equivalent that we count as resources, to proven reserves. There are 420 platforms, only vertical drills in what is commonly called linfield, to take these resources to reserves. And once we have the proven reserves, which we estimate should be by the end of the year, we will immediately start the environmental impact studies for the exploitation of the field. We have the support of the government at this time. They have evaluated our study, I believe that in a light manner, that is to say fast, not simple, but we are happy. They have committed to lift the observations, re-evaluate it, and God willing, we will have it approved by the end of July. Continue with these works. Well, of course, one always complains about the permits, the paperwork. In Canada, we made it clear that we could carry out parallel procedures, not waiting to finish one to start another, but to carry it out in parallel, for example, the prior consultation. We cannot wait for the General Directorate of Mining Environmental Affairs to approve an environmental instrument, which is approved in 2 years, and then say you need prior consultation. Why haven't we been doing it before? If we have the permit from the community, if we have the license from the community, why haven't we already gone ahead with the prior consultation in parallel with social management? Because this is seen by the General Directorate of Mining Environmental Affairs. Social management sees the issue of prior consultation, and in this way we would shorten the time in all the paperwork.
Ulises, well, in your experience, you were talking about the issue of prices per ton of lithium carbonate. Well, they reached $84,000, then they went down to dollars, then they went down to $13,000. What is the reason for these fluctuations? We are talking about quite a large margin in terms of prices, and if this should suddenly be, and whether this should suddenly be regulated, because we know that practically China is the one that manages these prices. Why are there so many differences in prices?
We believe that it was a product of speculation. When lithium carbonate was on the rise, everybody had lithium. Even in the country, let's see it as an example, everybody in the country had lithium deposits, and they started to make even a calicata. I understand. What we have to see is, we have to go a little bit further. Do we have the lithium? We have the lithium. Is it economically profitable to exploit it? How is that done? With metallurgical tests, with metallurgical procedures to see how profitable it is. We have the goodness that the deposit is in rock, as we have always said. It is not a salt deposit. We are not Chile. We are not Argentina. We are not Bolivia. Ours is in rock, an open pit, a normal common deposit as it exists in Antarctica. Normal, common, as it exists in Anacocha, as it exists in Antamina, as it exists in Toquepala, Cojones, etc. It is an open pit deposit. So speculation was so great that they began to find deposits all over the world. So it is logical. If there is so much lithium, the price goes down. But when they have seen that this is not real, again, the demand, which is of a percentage of the year, that is going to be its increase, which is going to be more than 400,000 tons of carbonate. The lithium is going to be more than 400,000 tons of carbonate, the lithium that the market is going to require. We are going to start with only 25,000 per year. The first 4 years. From there, we will go to 44,000, and then we will reach 100,000 tons. I understand in the 12th year, which means that by the year 2030, we are not going to be able to cover the market. The total market of 400,000 tons required, as Cesar said in his introduction.
Ulises, I'm going to ask you two questions in one. First, to know if you can enlighten us about the plans that Macusani Yellowcake has with the Falciani project for this year. With the Falciani project for this year, 2024, but at the same time, knowing that you are the president of the National Association of Beneficiation Plants. In the midst of all the discussion that is taking place and that has been resumed this week about the possibility of a definitive closure, the Rainfall PC, that the repeal of a legislative decree limiting the possibility of this, to limit the possibility of this registry, was repealed. But at the same time, the climate is once again heating up. The climate is heating up again with this issue. And what do you think about it? Because you are obviously guiding those who sometimes continuously receive from the artisans, from the informal ones, their production.
As I told you, the first part, the Falciani project, is going ahead. Macusani Yellowcake, as a company, this year has decided to separate the lithium deposits with the uranium deposits or projects that we have. We have formed a new company called Macusani Uranium, which also has its own Canadian capital, which I am also spared from managing. And it is simply going to carry out its explorations to increase the uranium resources it has. We are already doing the monitoring to present very soon, I believe before the end of the month, the environmental instruments for their evaluation and to drill to increase the 124 million pounds of uranium that we have as resources at this moment. As far as lithium is concerned, as I've just told you, I believe that by the end of the year, we should have for its evaluations. God willing, we will be approved in the semi-detailed EIA. I believe that by mid-June or July, it should be approved. Regarding your second question, it is a very complicated question, and I would summarize it as follows. That we have to be very careful with what we declare, with what we say. Tempers are very heated. I believe that it has been a mistake of the authority to say that it is going to eliminate the rainfall, because this is adding fuel to the fire. So, the only way for an informal miner in the process of formalization to trade his minerals is to have a rainfall. If he does not have rainfall, he cannot trade them. And if we are going to eliminate the rainfall, none of them will be able to commercialize. Where is it? With this, the miners will say, welcome to Antarctica. Remember well, that is to say, we must differentiate, separate the wheat from the chaff. Mr. Antauromel is going around the country saying that there are two types of mining, the plundering one and the national one, and that he is going to defend the national one. What does that mean? All artisanal miners, we are talking about a universe of 2 million people. That is why he won the elections, So what is happening to us? It is not possible that they say they are going to present a draft. There has to be a political decision, a mining formalization law that protects the work of the small mining producer must be legislated once and for all. The events that happen, as one just happened again in Poderosa, which is regrettable, but we have to distinguish, I repeat, from informal mining, from illegal mining. We are all against illegal mining, and we all put our shoulder to the wheel against illegal mining. But we have to defend the mining that is in the process of formalization. Don Benavides de la Quintana said it a long time ago. It is the source of resources at national level and gives work to a number of people.
Well, Ulises, as always, we want to thank you for participating in Rumbo Minero. I think you have shed some light not only on what is going to be this great demand for lithium in the year 2030, and you have said by a very serious study that it covers with more or less 487% of increase, and we have to pay a lot of attention to it. And your comment on the issue of the formalization process is also very interesting, because it is always good to open a debate on this. Always around this, so there are no dogmas to follow, but basically to study the social reality of each region. Ulises Solis, General Manager of Macusani Yellowcake, joined us In this segment, we are going to pass on to Gabriela Chicoma with information about Expo Mino.
Thank you very much. Expo Mina Peru, the largest and most important mining event in the world, with 16 years of trajectory, with the special participation of the United States as guest mining country. Expo Mina Peru is the only Peruvian event certified by the United States Department of Commerce. Do not be left out and be part of this great mining event. Reserve your booth at Expo Mina Peru. For more information, visit our website www.expominaperu.com.
We enter our International America Mining block, as always linked from New York. Wall Street with José Gonzales, our editor of the international section of Rumbo Minero magazine. José, as always, it is a pleasure to be in contact with you.
Likewise, Cesar, delighted always every week.
Well, last Sunday, there have been elections in Panama that have caused quite a stir. The candidate of the Save Panama Party, José Molino, has triumphed, and who is also recognized within the political environment for being a pro-investment man, and therefore there is a lot of talk that he could reverse this. There is much talk that he could reverse this decision made by his predecessor, Laurentino Cortizo. Cortizo to leave Panama First Quantum, an important mining investment that was going to take place and that we have commented on before. Do you believe that Molino could fulfill the objective of retaking this, to retake this project, to open the doors again to Panama First Quantum?
The issue is on the table, Cesar, and there is an intense discussion not only in Panama, but also in Canada, where First Quantum is located, and in the entire mining world. In a unique election, José Raúl Molino, who was Raúl Martinelli's presidential candidate, won Sunday's presidential election with 1% of the vote, as in Panama, the election is by simple majority. Molino, as president-elect, has promised that he will have a government of unity with the business groups. And while he has not made any statements about First Quantum, he has in the past supported the mining industry in the country, sparking this discussion among international and local analysts on what could happen. First Quantum statements, which had gone virtually unnoticed since they began in June of the 1960s, until the Constitutional Court declared the contract with the mining company unconstitutional in 2018, generated a dispute with the company that led to the suspension of the contract in 2022 and the issuance of a new one, which was approved by Congress and the executive in October of last year, causing massive popular protests that led to the Supreme Court to endorse the unconstitutionality of November, forcing the closure of the mine, which has complicated things for Panama due to its fiscal situation and the reduction in water flows in the Panama Canal. The mining operation of some 300,000 tons of copper concentrates per year represented 1.5% of the global copper production, and that there is so much international interest, particularly in this mine, because of the structural deficits in copper due to the energy transition. Almost 5% of Panamanian GDP and 40% of First Quantum's global income, the closure having contributed to the loss of investment-grade Panamanian debt rated since March of this year, as BBB plus by Fitch Ratings. Reversing the unconstitutionality of the contract and modifying the attitude towards mining would require, however, an inventory of political capital that Molino may not have, insofar as he does not have a majority in Congress, to which he has been an important proportion for young parliamentarians, the same as the municipal governments, with young people having led last year's anti-mining protests. Last year. For the time being, First Quantum has stated that it will try to dialogue with the president-elect to resolve the conflict that caused the closure of Cobre Panama.
What is the price? Jose, and well, continuing with this coverage towards Expo Mina and Confimin, I would like you to comment a little and give us more details on what the Forum on Social and Environmental Development will consist of. And Environmental Development Forum will consist of.
My pleasure, Miguel. In his annual keynote address at this year's PDAC, Rio Tinto's CEO, Jacob Strauss-Holm, emphasized the need to procure the metals necessary to support the energy transition and the importance of sourcing them from secure and sustainable supply chains. Having argued, Raymond Goldie, PDAC chairman, that both access to land and skilled people means forming stronger relationships with indigenous peoples because they live there, they are our natural allies. Goldie said, so we want to work with them to realize the blessings we have in this part of the world. Thus, the Social and Environmental Development Forum seeks to cover and discuss the social and environmental aspects of mining operations, their contribution to the sustainable development of the country, and policies that promote the integration of the mining industry with the communities within its area of operations and the nation as a whole. As ESG principles are being consolidated in global mining operations, it is imperative to take into account the environmental and social footprints of each mining operation, as Strom and Goldie point out, in order to ensure sustainability of the mining operation itself. The forum is chaired by Daniel Stevens, Director of the Climate and Energy Transition Program of the Inter-American Dialogue in Washington, D.C.
Very good. Thank you very much, Jose. There is a lot of expectation here in Peru, and especially in the mining environment, to participate in Expo Mina. Mining environment to participate in Expo Mina and with FEMIN. And the information you provide us in this last part is very valuable. José Gonzales, our international editor of Rumbo Minero magazine, was with us from Wall Street, New York. And talking about the magazine, you tell us about accessing it even directly, and the magazine even directly and free of charge through the internet. The internet, www.rumbominero.com. Precisely in your latest edition, we are dealing with the subject we have discussed with Ulises Solis about the expectations in the market for the future demand of lithium, demand for lithium, all this information, and of course the always sharp and intelligent comments of Jose Gonzalez's intelligent comments in our edition of Rumbo Minero.
That's right, Cesar. It's time to move on to the ANSAC mining assets block.
Activos Mineros AMSAC is a Peruvian public company with a great purpose: to give life back to the planet. Thus, we are dedicated to contributing to the sustainable development of the country through mining environmental remediation. At AMSAC, we recover areas affected by high and very high-risk mining liabilities, which are abandoned or where the state has not identified those responsible. In this line of work, today we are present in 11 regions of Peru, with a portfolio of 65 remediation projects, which are located in different phases. Promotion of private investment. In AMSAC, we represent the Peruvian state as counterpart of the transfer contracts of important mining projects. In addition, we supervise compliance with the commitments and obligations that are part of such processes. Today we are leaders in business management system. Within the 35 companies of the FONAFE Corporation, having certifications, made 9,001 in quality management, made 14,001 in environmental management, made 37,001 in anti-bribery management, and 45,001 in occupational health and safety management. At AMSAC, sustainability and care for the planet are our DNA, and therefore we are proud to contribute to creating a better world through the recovery of air, water, soil, and ecosystems impacted by mining liabilities. And thus, contribute to 10 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals by the year 2030. Giving life back to the planet is more than a simple phrase for us. It is the guide of our daily actions, with which we have a positive impact on the lives of thousands of Peruvians, and through them, on our country.
Very well, in our second interview in Rumbo Minero, we are pleased to introduce Dr. Pedro Gamio Tahita, as you know, former Vice Minister of Energy, with whom we are going to address the issue of his decision, or the government's decision, to stop the operation of oil lots will no longer operate. Pedro, as always, it is a pleasure to welcome you to our program.
I would also like to welcome your niece, Cesar.
What has been announced is that in August or September of this year, Petroperu will no longer be managing lots 1, 5, and Zeta 69. And this is one of the most important 9. And this is news that turns around what we have been discussing with you since the beginning of this year, when we were surprised by the fact of this year that we were surprised how in the midst of the enormous debt that Petroperu had accumulated, Petroperu, plus now the problems that the Talara refinery is going through, which is going to force it not to, that will force it not to process adequately, how it could become involved almost by legislative imposition in the administration and management of other lots. Now it has changed. What is the reason for this change and how do you judge it? What is the reason for this change and how do you judge it in any case?
Petroperu's situation must be evaluated with great technical rigor. There was no long-term assignment, it was a temporary assignment, but it was not supported by the required investment conditions and the challenge lies ahead. The challenge lies ahead. So this leads us to say how Petroperu's cash flow is. It is bad. The recovery is not yet complete. Petroperu has had a decision in the year to build a new refinery. Construction of a new refinery. When Petroperu was not the Petroperu of the 90s, it had a much larger patrimony. It was a reduced Petroperu. The debt was substantial. The government of that time should have been clear in saying that the debt is assumed by all Peruvians. The company is not going to be able to pay a debt that in its relation with its equity is so markedly distant. On the one hand, and on the other hand, the fact that it has had administrators who did not meet the qualifications, especially during the previous government, has also harmed Petroperu. In addition to having inflated its payroll, Petroperu needs to go through a very severe restructuring program to gain competitiveness. Restructuring program that will allow it to become more competitive. And the issue of the lots, I must say something. When there is vertical integration, the average profit margin is 75%. When you have a refinery, the refinery with the highest margin in the world does not exceed 25%. So vertical integration does help Petroperu, but it has to be gradual. It has to be with partners that are willing to go in this association, a kind of app. And Petroperu has to maintain a very small margin that is like Ecopetrol, that allows it to negotiate favorable conditions in the price of the crude that the refinery is going to treat, because they have built a new refinery to work and process heavy crude to produce better quality diesel. Peru must also know how to value this investment. The issue is a fine management, and there is another problem that we have had as a company in Peru, which is the issue of the which is the issue of the technical team that must manage this operation. This is not a short-term challenge, it is a long-term one. They have to be people who know the industry and who have no doubts about their expertise. That there is no doubt as to their expertise or their knowledge of the industry.
Speaking of that, Pedro, well, we know that a few days ago, Carlos Linares Peñalosa, President of the Board of Directors or former electoral president of Petroperu, resigned due to some issues. Tell us a little bit about the reason for this resignation, and obviously how much this internal instability is again affecting the state entity. Instability. The article is failing.
Articulation in the state. Concurrent control, this is giving us the alert, has to do also with human resources. This person is a person who apparently has all the conditions, experience, and technical qualification, but he had an administrative problem of a position he had occupied before. Then there should have been a concurrent control, that is to say the alert that the Comptroller's office says no. The gentleman can meet the technical capacities of the person in question. The gentleman may have the technical capabilities, but he has to resolve a pending issue. Since the appointment was made without this prior feedback, there has been a short circuit. Regardless of whether he clarifies the situation in question, it hurts that he has to be removed. Be removed or have to resign in order to clarify his situation, when at this time Petroperu needs a stable, technically qualified management, a stable board of directors with technical qualifications, and through this figure of concurrent control that the Comptroller's office agrees with, because what we need is a restructuring of the company. A restructuring of the company. Because look at what Chile is doing with its national hydrocarbon company. It keeps the numbers in blue, maintains competitive conditions, and helps free competition, because it must be recognized that the state has a complementary role. It helps the regulatory power. It helps to take fuel to remote places, but Petroperu cannot continue to be such a burden for the finances of the state and in the end, the finances and the economy of all Peruvians. The house has to be managed in a neat way.
Now, we have talked about the oil lots that Petroperu will no longer exploit. This removes a risk, but Petroperu's situation has worsened with this paralyzation of the flexi-cooking unit. When I personally, on behalf of Rumbo Minero, was present at the startup of the new refinery, it was presented as the jewel in the crown, but it was not like that. We have entered into absolute modernity. We have entered the absolute modernity. Well, this very important unit within the refining process is paralyzed. What is coming next from the financial point of view, Pedro? Is there going to be a need for a new rescue, a new contribution from the state? How do you see the situation?
I read the minister's statement and he was very clear in saying that what was being done was to give partial support to Petroperu, that the problem was not solved, that the problem was going to last 2 or 3 years from the financial point of view. Now, on the technical issue, we are talking about a new refinery. A new refinery is not inaugurated one day and then it is 100% in full operation. It needs to be testing the systems, and there is a whole testing period of...
The previous minister said that by December of last year, January, the refinery was already 100% operational. The enthusiasm was wrong.
To say that the thing is no longer, this is not that in 24 hours operates. Let's look at the history of the big refineries that have been built in the world. There is a whole period of important testing because it is a sophisticated operation. This refinery is very advanced in its technology. Even if the technical problem persists, there is a protocol that the contractor has the responsibility to correct any deficiencies. All of that is not clear to us right now. It has to be verified whether it was an adjustment, a failure, a malfunction that is easily fixable, or there is a major technical issue because there is a warranty from the contractor. There is a major technical issue because there is a guarantee on the part of the contractor who has to respond so that the refinery reaches its optimum production level. Now, what does this mean for Peru? It means that the $400 million that this refinery was supposed to yield in profits will be postponed because it is producing as if it were an old refinery that does not have the capacity to process heavy crude.
Pedro, well, we have 1 minute left. I wanted to ask you about the OTX situation, which has been a consortium that has won this tender. Offshore International Group, Agüitida Energy del Perú, and Termoselva. But there is an issue here that we have also discussed some weeks ago with some specialists with respect to the exploration of new lots is not being incentivized, and that Peru Petro is being very permissive in these contracts, not including this issue, exploration.
It has to be promoted even more when we have only 20 years of secure natural gas reserves. We need to check whether the success that Mobile had, for example, in Madrid is, and what is the size of the new reserve that we can use, because we are in an energy transition. That means a combination of hydrocarbons, mainly natural gas, with renewable energies. This does not change overnight. Natural gas is going to help the Peruvian economy. So Peru cannot remain paralyzed without trying to prove how much gas we have in Madre de Dios. How much gas we have in Madre de Dios. And for that, we have to promote the arrival of first-level investors, and we also have to make a technical precision so that the environmental management plan, for example, in Madre de Dios, in the nearby area where gas was found, there is compatibility between the system called horizontal drilling, so that the protected area that is on the surface is not affected. But neither should we take away Peru's right to take advantage of natural gas within the energy transition to ensure competitive costs so that the country can grow and allow people to have a good life.
Pedro, as always, very clear and illustrative your disposition, and we thank you for being in Rumbo Minero, and of course we will keep on, and of course we will continue to talk and dialogue about these interesting topics. Pedro Gamio Aita, former Vice Minister of Energy, was in this segment with us. We now turn to Gabriela Chicoma with more information from Spomin.
Thank you very much. Expo Mina Peru, the largest and most important mining event in Peru in 2024, with 16 years of trajectory. Do business with the mining sector of Peru and America. Expo Mina Peru from September 11 to 13, 2024 at the Yoken Lima Exhibition Center. Portfolio of mining projects in Peru for more than $53 million and portfolio of mining projects in America for $450 million. Invest with the leaders. Participate in Expo Mina Peru 2024. For more information, check our website www.expominaperu.com.
Time to present a segment of Strategic Allies in Mining, the Suppliers Block.
In Rumbo Minero TV, we are introducing the suppliers block of the mining sector.
In our first interview of the Suppliers segment, we are pleased to introduce Jesús Galdós, Chief Trader of Zoomlion. We give him a warm welcome. We asked Jesus how many years his company has been working in the mining sector and what is the portfolio of products and services it provides.
Hello, Cesar. How are you? Thank you very much for the invitation and for the time you are giving us. Well, I would like to tell you that our company, Zoomlion, has been founded back in 1992. We are mainly dedicated to the research, development and manufacture, sale of machinery for the mining industry, for construction, agricultural machinery, among others, and focused on high technology equipment. We have leading products that cover, in fact, 13 categories. We have been duly established in Peru since the year, and today we have operations, offices, warehouses in San Isidro, Lima, Peru, in San Isidro, Lima, Gambetta, Megacentro, and Durín, then in Lima, in Piura, Trujillo, Arequipa, and soon in the north of Cusco, in the northern part of Cusco. Jesus, regarding your question about, sorry, yes, tell me, yes, no, go on. Regarding your question about the portfolio that you were telling me about, well, we have, as I told you, 13 lines, earth moving, mining, etc., concrete, of which we have excavators, bulldozers, mini excavators, dams, drills, crushers, concrete pumps of all types, concrete mixers, fixed concrete plants, mobile cranes of up to 2,400 tons, tower cranes, among other equipment.
Jesus, tell us a little about how technology and innovation in equipment and products has evolved, and innovation in your company's equipment and products.
Well, eventually we have been working within our factories in China, in Shamsa, factories there in China, in Shamsa, persistently handling now high-tech equipment, as I was saying, and even soon, and this to be a first for you, we are going to handle electrical equipment also that we can use in mining and construction. First soon, we will also be handling electrical equipment that we can use in mining and construction.
Finally, congratulations, Jesus. We would like to ask you, how is the customer follow-up process of the after-sales work that you do?
Well, we focus mainly on the needs of the customer, who is our main objective, and as strategic partners with them in all our operations. And our main idea is to sustain the value in the life cycle of our equipment. So we are highly focused on an efficient after-sales service with a team of professionals, as I was telling you a minute ago, located in the north, center, and south, who are highly trained in all the lines we commercialize. We are also commenting that we are implementing by leaps and bounds our critical stock and spare parts at the national level in order to provide our customers with the necessary speed in predictive, corrective, and predictive maintenance, not at the cost of training our operators, our customers, and so on. In this way, we are moving forward hand in hand with our customers.
Jesus, thank you very much for giving us this interview, and congratulations for this effort made by your company, Zoomlion. Your company, Zoomlion, especially in the sustainable setting for what is going to come, the great announcement of the use of units and machinery, of the use of electric units and machinery, machines as required by the modernity of sustainability. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks to you.
Thank you for your time. Very kind. All right, it was Jesús Galdós, Commercial Manager of Zoomlion. We leave you with important announcements.
Baltarumi, a company dedicated to the acquisition and processing of gold ore, committed to sustainable development and social responsibility. We guarantee full traceability of our products. We use state-of-the-art industrial technologies that allow us to guarantee efficiency in the production process, maximize our resources, and protect the environment, fulfilling our commitment to preserve nature. Paltarumisak. Together we are better.
With this interview, Miguel, we come to the end of our program and comment briefly on the result of the interviews we have done with Ulises Solis of Macusani Yellowcake, in which he emphasizes what is already a universal information regarding the growth of the demand that lithium is going to have. Demand for lithium. Falciani, which is one of Macusani's companies, is in this process of consolidation in its production, and we have to pay a lot of attention to it. The same as the second topic that he commented on, about this still complex process of formalization of informal mining.
This is a very important area. That is right, and it is also good what Pedro Gamio said about Petroperu, which continues to be a headache not only for the government but also for all Peruvians, taking into account that each bailout, that every bailout that is given to this state-owned company comes out of the pockets of all of us taxpayers.
Despite the quality, in my opinion, of the recently appointed members of the board of directors, unfortunately, Mr. Linares, as Gamio explained, had to step aside due to personal problems, but we still need to know the absolute total re-engineering of the company. Total re-engineering that will improve and optimize the state-owned company, Peru. Do not go away because Peru Construido is coming next.